Over the years, Americans have witnessed far too many acts of senseless gun violence, from Virginia Tech to the Pulse Massacre to the recent mass shooting in Las Vegas. But perhaps one of the most disturbing took place 5 years ago this week: the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. On December 14, 2012, a shooter entered the school, opening fire and fatally shooting 6 adult staff members and 20 children who were between the ages of 6 and 7. The incident was the deadliest mass shooting at a high school or grade school in U.S. history. Given the age of many of the victims, many politicians pledged to take action on gun control right after the shooting.
In the coming weeks, I'll use whatever power this office holds to engage my fellow citizens.
One is to ban assault weapons, to try and reinstate the assault weapons ban. The second is to limit the size of clips to maybe no more than 10 bullets per clip. And the third would be to make it harder for mentally unstable people to get guns.
The time for sort of saying that we can't talk about the policy implications of tragedies like this is over.
Despite these promises, not much progress has been made on the issue. MTV News spoke with Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut about the legislation they proposed in 2013.
We tried to pass a pretty simple bill through the Congress that was supported by 95% of Americans. That bill would have just said, before you buy a gun in this country, you have to pass a background check, make sure you're not a criminal. That did not get enough votes to pass.
According to reporting from Vox Media and the Gun Violence Archive, since Sandy Hook, there have been over 1,500 mass shootings and at least 200,000 gun-related incidents in the United States, resulting in the loss of more than 55,000 lives to gun violence. In 2016, at the top of his final year in office, President Obama introduced a group of executive actions with the hopes of reducing gun violence.
Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad. And by the way, it happens on the streets of Chicago every day. So, all of us need to demand a Congress brave enough to stand up to the gun lobby's lies. All of us need to stand up and protect its citizens.
However, President Trump rolled all of these actions back 3 months after his inauguration. This lack of progress has been challenging for gun control activists, like Sarah Clements, who became involved in the movement after her mother, a teacher, survived the Sandy Hook shooting.
It's been difficult to make changes in terms of gun laws in the United States in the past 5 years because of a few different things. I think one is specifically about guns themselves in American culture and American politics. There's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of changing the norms about how we talk about gun culture, how we address toxic masculinity and militarism of citizens in the United States.
Another major factor, according to Senator Murphy, is the gun industry.
We have a prohibition in this country on anybody owning an automatic weapon. The problem is the gun industry has figured out how to make something called a bump stock that can turn a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic weapon. That should be illegal too. And we are trying to get legislation passed through Congress to get it done. But once again, Republicans who are supported by the NRA have stopped that bill from coming up for a vote in the House and the Senate.
Today, gun control activists are battling the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, which just passed in the House this month. The act says that the concealed carry laws in your home state apply across the country. So if you live in a state that allows you to carry a concealed weapon in public spaces, you're still protected if you go to a state with stricter gun laws. A recent Pew Research Center survey found that 81% of Americans oppose allowing people to carry concealed weapons without a permit. So organizations like Everytown and Moms Demand Action have called upon the American public to hold their representatives accountable.
I think one of the hardest lessons to learn is that every amount of work that we do translates to positive change and matters. It's easy to forget that when mass shootings do continue to happen, when people do continue to die. But we have to remind ourselves the arc of justice is very, very long, and while we might not see the change that we're fighting for in our lifetimes come to full fruition, we have to remember that every little thing does count and every step forward is still a step forward.
To learn more about gun policy reform and what you can do to end gun violence in the United States, visit everytown.org.